Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu and the Insider crew.
Today we battle Classic Club Coupe versus Boxster.
Get you a pair.
Today we battle Classic Club Coupe versus Boxster.
So now, welcome to episode 38. What you just listened to was our fun little clip that we posted on Instagram for the Classic Club Coupe PCA Puma shoes, and probably it was a funny clip, but the comments were probably the most funny.
I was going to say, were you guys high when you did that?
So that was the premiere for Bogdan Roberson, who is our new social media extraordinaire here at PCA headquarters. And we just thought we'd do something fun where, we launched the shoes at Unstock, and they're selling very well. And we were actually kind of worried whether or not we could promote it in eBay because they might sell out so quickly. But there are a few pairs left. So if you haven't bought your pair, yeah, they're pretty cool. So actually today we're all by ourselves, Manny. It's just
That's the first time we're down to two.
Well, let's not forget Robert. Robert's at the
Yes.
at the controls, and
Robert's actually shopping for a Cayenne. He's going to get his first Porsche.
I know, and he's very excited about it.
Yes, he is. He was asking us about all the different types of options and trim levels, and being Denise, one of our accountants, she drives a Cayenne, so she was talking about what her next Cayenne that she wants to get. And of course, Jim drives a Cayenne. You drive a Cayenne. He'll be in good company.
So by the time you're listening to this, hopefully you had a wonderful Thanksgiving with the family. And what I love most about Thanksgiving time is I get to my uncle and aunt make this amazing dish that I only get at Thanksgiving. And sometimes they make it for Christmas too, and it's this like cauliflower with hard-boiled eggs on top and cheese. And now that I'm describing it, it doesn't sound all that great, but it's one of my favorite dishes.
Wow. Yes.
It's got like this creamy like consistency. I don't even know, but we only get on holidays. So did you have something good? Is there a favorite dish
No,
for
I
me?
remember. I think this was we did the podcast a year ago, and I ended up at the Wawa.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're going to the same house again. And I think that's why my wife, and I really lost track of time as far as that Thanksgiving was coming up. And I was wondering why my wife was asking me all these questions about what I was going to eat for Thanksgiving. And now I remember why. Because I think last time we had some kind of Italian dish.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't, was it maybe ham?
Yeah, so it was something about ham.
I take bad memories and I tend to forget about them. All I know is I ended up at the Wawa, which is a for those not around on the East Coast, that's like a 7-Eleven convenience store on Thanksgiving night, buying a sub.
So if it's not appealing to you, you just can't even eat it. Like you just stop eating.
Why waste the calories?
I don't know.
I know it looks like I eat just to eat, but I am very selective, believe it or not.
I don't know, but then the extra effort to go find something else later to eat at Wawa.
You never know when your last meal is going to be. Do you really want it to be something that you didn't like?
Okay,
Do you really want to be in
enough.
the other world saying, God, I could have had something good, but instead
usually at like a holiday meal, okay, let's say they didn't have the proper ham. I think you said it was too fatty or something like that.
That's what it was. Yeah,
it was
you
too
bring
fatty.
back memory. It was that spirally ham.
Which is delicious with the crunchy coating.
Listen,
stuff.
I love fat just as much as the next person, but not on the ham. It was
okay, but say you didn't like the ham because it was fatty, but usually at a holiday meal you've got 20 other side dishes.
Usually, but this wasn't the country buffet. This was
this
was it. This was the centerpiece was this ham.
Yeah, so I think there's a photo of my family. Well, so I have a big family and everyone makes a dish, and literally there's 24 different types of food that you could consume. Anything from Vietnamese to Indian to traditional Thanksgiving yams and marshmallows and stuff. So even if you didn't like one of the courses. There's plenty of other things for you to eat.
Yeah, no, we don't have that. I
well,
wish we did.
Well, maybe you should
But
come
remember,
come over
your
next
family,
time.
your family. First of all, you call people who are just your friends family.
Yes, I do.
You probably tell people Gregory's your cousin.
He is.
He
He's
has
my brother from another mother.
He's no relation whatsoever.
All right, so let's see. What have we done since? Man, we've been running so hard for the past couple of weeks with Unstock and being in L.A. Oh, my brother's wedding finished.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. Wedding, the wedding part 2 and part 3 is done. He came. We delivered him on a horse to the bride's side, and that was a first. His clothing was kind of tight, so the funny part is he ripped his pants when he climbed on the horse. And there we are with my siblings taking our traditional album cover shot, and the family. And we decided the first wedding part was Vietnamese tradition. Number 2 was Indian tradition, which was, man, that was like a 4-hour ceremony. It was a long ceremony. But it was very cool. And then we partied it up in the evening.
There's marriages that haven't lasted 4 hours.
Oh, and when I got back from LA, my siblings and cousins decided that we would do a surprise Indian dance for them. So I had to learn this Bollywood Indian.
I can tell you didn't learn it.
I learned it.
I
I learned like 90% of it.
Is
So anyways.
part of it being like the second behind everyone else?
Yeah. Don't hate. I only had an hour the night before to learn it. But yeah, that was our surprise to the bride and groom. And in fact, the parents were more surprised about it, and they asked us to do it twice, which was even more terrifying for me. All right, let's see. While I was doing that, you were still in L.A.
Let's see, last time we left the podcast, we were in a bedroom with Cindy and Damon, and we were recording our podcast, and we had just finished Shoonstock.
Right. Oh, we were heading out to Angeles Crest.
So yeah, so since that time we recorded. You and I did 2 Omars. Damon, I think by when it's all said and done, when he finally comes back from vacation, I think he's going to have like 15 one-mile reviews that he's done himself. Ilko, our advertising director, really helped him out and got him set up with a lot of people in L.A. and San Diego. So it's going to be. He's done some very cool cars that I'm really interested in. Seeing his
Well, it's a good thing because he kind of needs it like in the hopper for the next couple of months, right?
Yeah, because it's pretty cold now in Maryland, and
Yep.
yeah. So we did a 911 Turbo, which that's just like the front corner. Is that all I sent to Robert? Was the front corner?
No, that's my shot.
Oh,
That's
your
my
shot.
artistic shot.
So you did what year was
It was at Scott's 2001 modified 911 Turbo. It's a 996, and man, to be able to do a 1-mile review on Angeles Crest, or just even drive on Angeles Crest, what a fantastic road! And to have this modified 911 Turbo, it's really his track car that sees street duty, and it's actually was quite compliant without giving away the whole 1-mile review. But man, that road is awesome. And while we were filming, it was cool to see because the LA Auto Show was that week. There were a lot of press cars on that road.
Yeah, plus we saw the Carrera T's. They must have been doing some kind of VIP drive. And so we kept on seeing those go back and forth. And one of the Carrera T's, the green one, ended up being in the LA Auto Show. So
after
they must have cleaned it up really well and brought it inside the convention center. I did Steve Gwynn's 2018, I think, 911 GTS, which it's hard to complain about it. GTS, I mean, it does everything right, and the neat thing is both these guys track these cars, and so the condition, they look both in phenomenal condition for track cars. At least I remember my track car, the whole front end was like beat to hell, and these cars looked almost brand new.
Yeah,
They must be in front, no one in front of them, because there was no chips or anything on the front. So.
Yeah, Scott's car, his was, again, not to give completely everything away from the 1-mile review, but man, heavily modified with tons of power, even upgraded brakes. But I will share that he did what I did was, back in the day, I upgraded my calipers on my Mustang, and I didn't change out the master cylinder. And hopefully I'm getting this technically correct, but the volume of fluid that requires to fill the pistons or to move the pistons, like it stops, but the pedal is much further.
Deeper, yeah.
It goes deeper.
A little more travel.
And I adjusted to it, but you're so used to these modern cars with like ceramic brakes or big brakes themselves that you just kind of just breathe on them, and they stop like crazy. This car stopped once you got down further into the pedal travel, but it kind of reminisced a little bit about my car modifications, and when you change things, and if you don't do all of it, there's some trade-offs.
Yeah, my race car was the same way. When I put big reds on it from the regular 964 brakes, I still kept the original master cylinder and a little bit more travel, but you got used to it. It wasn't anything where it affected really the quality of the ride and whatnot. But once you read about it, everyone said, "Oh, upgrade to the 993 master cylinder to get rid of that feeling." But the feeling wasn't anywhere near as bad as I read about it, so I never changed mine. I just left it as is.
Yeah. But you hardly ever drove your car on the street, right?
No, the biggest problem driving on the street wasn't the master cylinder. It was the brake pads. Because I use track pads, and track pads
need heat,
operate at a higher temperature. So you can't get that temperature just by hitting stoplights every once in a while. And, or autocrossing. Autocrossing was terrible because you'd stab the brakes and it wouldn't slow down. Not the way you want it to slow down. So it wasn't like dangerous on the street by any means, but certainly wasn't biting like it would on the track when it was hot.
Were they noisy? Mine are noisy.
No, they weren't noisy. They were just on the track. They were perfect because they were made for that high temperature. So once they got the operating temperature, they stayed in that range, and the brakes were always there. But yeah, for autocrossing, and I was too lazy to switch. Some people just switched pads after the event was over. I just lived with it. It wasn't that big of a deal.
I know. When was the last time I tracked my 87? And I still have track pads on. And every time I go on a tour, I'm like the loudest car out there.
See, for that you should just one day switch.
One day I should just switch them back.
Since you're not going to be doing DE for a while with that, probably.
Yeah. So you got to, I came back for the wedding, and you got to hang around a bit to experience some stuff at the LA Auto Show.
Yeah, we went from Burbank, and Porsche, of course, invited PCA officially to attend the press conference on would have been Wednesday. This was a Porsche only invite press conference. This was for their, of course, the 911 Dakar that came out, and they invited international press. First time I went to an event where there was international press. That was pretty cool, mainly because there was a whole hierarchy of Porsche was there, who we all know. Oliver Blume, the CEO of VW and Porsche. I got to chat with him. I'm surprised this man remembered me, since the last time we had dinner together was 2018. But he knew me right away.
You're distinctive.
I must have that distinctive dead German comedian's face. Was Detlef von Platten, which we all know and love.
Yes, a
I
dear
told
friend.
him we miss him here at PCA. He used to be the CEO of Porsche Cars North America. Now he's on the board of directors for Porsche, I believe, in charge of manufacturing and production. And he's always fun. Detlef was always fun because, if you remember, at the banquets, he would the Porsche people would get nervous because they're very structured as far as what they say.
Yep.
And the executives are given a speech on these index cards, and when they used to see Detlef walk around the podium to the front and put the cue cards to his side, they knew he was going off script, and that made him very nervous. And I think the one year he announced that there was going to be a new HQ for Porsche in Atlanta, and he also said in the sentence, "It will also be
I
the
remember
new
this.
home of the Porsche Club of America." And we had just bought this new space in Columbia here, where we are now. And everyone turned around and looked at our table like to say, did something happen we didn't know about?
No, even funnier. So yes, Detlef is known for freestyling, or at least making people nervous for freestyling when he's up at the podium. And when he said that, we welcome PCA to its new home in Atlanta. Loanne, my wife, looked over. She's like, "Are we moving to Atlanta?"
And we just spent an hour having dinner at the table. And he never once said he was going to say this or whatnot, but so we had to clarify that with the membership, that what he meant was PCA members can feel at home when they come to our new headquarters. Not that the headquarters for PCA would be going down to Atlanta. But anyways, it was great to see Detlef again. Dr. Frank Walliser, who has been with us, a PCA member, a long, long time. And now, and I'm going to mess up his new title, but I think essentially he's got to make sure that all the new cars, and I particularly think electric, basically drive and feel like a Porsche. And that's critical,
Right.
That, when people are saying electric cars pretty much all feel the same, they don't have a soul and this, that, and the other. Porsche is very keen on making sure that it's still a Porsche and it feels like a Porsche, even though the
I guess
source is different.
What better than to have the gentleman that was at the helm at Motorsports, the heart of
and the
Porsche
918
and the 918 project, to be in charge of making sure that X factor still remains in a Porsche.
He was there, and his replacement, Mr. Moser, he is now in charge of 911 and I believe all the two-door production. He was there. So it was a lot of hierarchy from Porsche at this international press conference. And, I was taking a bunch of photos because I've always seen these press conferences on video, like many of you have, when they made the reveals. But being there in person, they use teleprompters. It never occurred to me that they would use teleprompters.
I would think so. There's a lot of data.
Well, I guess like when we do videos, we're just doing it off the cuff.
Well, because what we say is not critical.
But even the interaction with the Romain Dumas, the driver, everything was, the question they asked him was all on the teleprompter.
Yeah.
Which was,
and maybe that's why sometimes, the presentations do feel like they are scripted, because guess what? They are scripted.
well, the funny thing was, I didn't think it was scripted. I'm listening to this, and it looks like they're having a conversation. Then in the corner of my eye, I could see some movement. I looked over, and it was a screen with the wording moving. So
That's awesome.
Detlef's gotten very good. He can read a teleprompter like a pro. But anyways, it's just what you expect from Porsche. They're very organized. They're prepared. They leave nothing for chance. So it was.
How many people were there from the?
I'm gonna say
hundreds.
No. I was gonna say maybe 60, 70.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of different languages being spoken.
Yeah.
Other than Spanish, I couldn't understand. I was trying to pick out which country they were from. A lot of Latin America.
Yeah.
A lot of different dialects of Spanish. I picked up. But yeah, it was very cool having seeing the international press there and the coverage of the car. And they had a GT3 RS, and that has not been forgotten. It was still, I think, one of the things where people came to see, even though we've already seen it in Monterey, a lot of people had not seen it up close. So that was also a hit. They had the...
and it was a different color combo, right?
Yeah, they had red and white. I'm waiting for blue and white. That's my favorite combo, but this one was red and white.
You mean white with blue stripes or blue
White with red accents?
No, I'm saying your favorite.
Is white with the
blue stripes.
Yeah, the traditional Carrera RS, I guess, look.
Did they have a white and red original RS to like compare?
I believe so. Yeah,
they did. Okay.
I don't remember seeing a green one. That might have been something they did just for this this version of the RS.
Now, were there also? I mean, the Dakar was obviously all over the internet, and that stole the show, I think. And the GT3 RS, a lot of people still, gravitate towards that because, like you said, they didn't get to see it yet. But there were like the style editions, and were there still? I'm sure they still brought Taycans and Panameras.
Yeah, they had those. So they had the Taycans with the rooftop camper,
camping again,
tent on top of it.
Was overlanding feature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I guess they're convinced a lot of people are going to be doing this. But the Star Show is the car. They did have the Carrera T, as I mentioned. They had the Style Edition, which won't be available in the U.S. until 24, and they didn't have it in the Ruby Star Neo, which I was dying to see what that looked like in person. They had it in a gray, and I'm going to mess it up because when we did the video, I messed it up. I thought it was one color, was another color, so it's either Arctic or Atlas gray, I think.
If it's darker, it'd be Atlas. Oh, sorry, I'm talking
even
to Mr.
the gray.
Cowboy. Yeah.
Anyways, they had that. It was something to do where China wanted the Ruby Star Neo first at their show, and so they had shipped the cars there, and then something happened, and they changed their mind. They couldn't get back here in time. So it was interesting. I thought those cars just came in that color. I guess I didn't read deep enough into the press release. But you can get it in different colors. It's more of a trim package. But it will not be... They'll be taking orders later next year, and it will be a 2024 model.
All right, time for Manny Tells the Truth. Going into the LA Auto Show, you knew the Dakar was going to be there.
Yes.
What was your expectation? And when you saw it, is it what you expected?
I did not understand why they were doing this car. To me, it was
because overlanding's a thing now.
Yeah, so was disco dancing. Did they have a disco version of the 911? It just didn't seem to make sense of what a 911 is, which to me is a sports car. So it should be low to the ground, hugging the curbs. I know Porsche had a history in off-road rallying. It's been very successful, but by and large, it's a sports car and on-the-road racing. So, yeah, I didn't understand what they were accomplishing. I had to say, though, after the press conference and listening to how they developed this car, I think it's very cool. I think it's cool because they're actually making this car. At their car show, especially the LA Auto Show, you see a lot of concepts, you see a lot of prototypes, but rarely do you see these cars come to fruition. And probably by the time you listen to this, my Tech Tips article will be out. You probably don't remember. This wasn't really broadcast that well. Back in 2015, they made a prototype which gave us a glimpse into this car. It's called the Vision Safari. Mm-hmm. And it was based, the graphics were based on the 78 SC East African Safari car. And it was just a one-off that they built. It had the wheel arches. It's very similar to this car here. And I don't think anybody really paid too much attention because, like me, they were probably saying, well, they're never going to make this car. But my article that I'm going to have for Tech Tips, which I said will be out by the time you listen to this, compares the two, the prototype from 2015 and the car. And I bring that up because during the press conference, one of the things they were asked was, when did you start looking at this car, making this car, developing it? And they would go back to 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, so this Vision Safari that they did, a one-off, was done in 2015. That means they were deep into it already, thinking about this car, developing it. For the past few years, we've seen spy shots of this car, so it wasn't really a secret that eventually they were going to come out with it. But knowing that in Weissach, they were thinking about it that long ago, just when the 991 first came out, they were already thinking about making the possibility of making a off-road version of the 911. And so they were also asked, Porsche was asked, the Safari craze, let's call it, which I think we credited to Lee Keen and when he first did it to a G-body, was that one of the reasons why they did this car? They wouldn't say yes, but they did say that this car, that it was obvious this car was made for and influenced by North America. Mm-hmm. So it was. I think Porsche probably looked at these Safari cars and thought, if this is what our customers want, maybe we can deliver a short run of them. And
what's interesting is I'm sure, Lee started or brought back the trend of Safari cars is because of, he remembers, the Porsche rally car days, right? And he loved that, and he wanted to build one for himself. And it kind of brought it to the forefront. I can't tell you how many people, even, my friends and family that aren't necessarily like always talking to me about Porsches or cars for that matter, they knew this car was coming, or they saw it and they're like, man, that's cool that Porsche's making something that's off-road. And I was pretty surprised. So my question is, is the Dakar simply what is it based off? Is it based off of GTS or?
Yes, it's based off Carrera 4 GTS. Yeah. The engine and transmission, and then what Porsche did was basically added the front axle lift, the rear axle, and then put the front axle lift also in the rear, so they could adjust the height. And I think, boy, I'm going to mess up the millimeter. I should have pulled it up, the exact specs.
So
but
was the chassis like reinforced because it's going to be off road, or is the chassis stiff enough to handle whatever?
yes, they had to redo the shocks. It wasn't like the so they had on there the actual race card around the car, the '84 what they call the 4x4 911. The first time they made a if you will production 4x4. It was nowhere reinforced to that, and this is nowhere near a competition car. Because someone asked them, "Are you going to race this car?" And basically, this is not set up for racing. It's
But it's more than just an appearance package.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
still
No,
it's still
they-
capable as an off-roader.
yes, it's they've got the clearance on it. They changed the software, and we did a video which may be out by the time you listen to this also, where we covered the Dakar and some of the other new cars that they came out with. But Michael Tam, who we all know and love, he gives us a rundown. And so they changed the software on the mode settings. So where you have like Sport Plus, this is off-road and rally. So depending on the ground and where you're at, it will change the amount of torque bias to the differentials. It'll change the amount of power that goes to the rear wheels. It's once again more than just an appearance package. Now, I read a lot of comments on the internet from people are saying, "Oh, this car will never see the off-road." And majority is probably very true.
Well, I mean,
but-
how many Range Rovers or how many Cayennes see
to
off-road?
that I said, how many GT3 RSs do you think are going to go to the track?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, at driver's eds, you see GT3s.
Yeah.
You don't see too many RSs.
Right.
And certainly maybe the new one you won't see as much because most people at that point are buying cup cars, 1 or 2 year old cup cars from teams, and they're running that. I think Porsche likes the marketing part of that these cars are going to be on the racetrack or these cars are going to go off-road. But, it's your money. If you want to buy it and
Look
pull
at it,
around,
yeah.
high up, like you said, the same people that buy these Range Rovers that can do amazing things, but most people will never leave their driveway. It's just cool that a car company went ahead and did this.
Yeah. How many units are they going to do?
2,500.
2,500. So I'm sure those are all spoken for. So the question is, people will be like, well, all the parts that they created this vehicle, could they retrofit their, 4S and get it to be sort of a version
So
of it?
the front bumpers were changed because of the approach angle. They moved the center radiator out, where GTS would have a center radiator. Here they removed the center radiator out. They did it all with the thought that people are going to take this off road.
I noticed the front hood is very similar to a GT3 with the snorkels.
They used exactly.
Yeah. So why is that?
They didn't explain. Actually, no one asked why.
No one noticed?
I mean, people noticed, but they didn't ask why.
Okay.
What purpose it?
Yeah.
Especially with the center radiator gone.
Right. I was wondering why that's there.
Yeah, no, it was. We were too busy looking at that cool light rack.
The light rack? What was
Yes.
special about that?
Well, it's the first time they've done a light rack like that, and it had LEDs that just
Blinded you?
it
probably?
could land. The airplane could land with these lights. Every time they would turn it on, they would warn people in front of it that if you're looking directly at it, you're going to get blinded. That's
Yeah.
how bright these lights are. And they also wired plugs onto the hood, so even if you don't get the rally package, you get just a regular Dakar, and you decide to add the roof later on, the cars all have the wiring set in the hood. It looks like a satellite antenna, but it's actually the cover for the wiring, so you can easily plug and play.
Oh.
Because it's not a regular roof rack in the sense that it has lighting inside of it.
So the Rothmans livery is probably the most photographed out of all the cars at the LA Auto Show. But I noticed clearly it doesn't say Rothmans.
No, it says Rough Roads.
Rough Roads.
I'm convinced the same person who did Sports Car Together did Rough Roads.
Maybe it's a licensing thing?
It is completely trademarked and licensed. I think it might be a language thing because in doing research for this article I did, I see in English, they use the word rough roads a lot, meaning, what we would call off-road.
Oh, okay. That's
So-
how they refer to off-road.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's just like in Europe, they talk about young timers and old timers, Grand
Yes.
Prix. They say that a lot. We never say that.
I just wonder, maybe this is naive and maybe I'm just uncultured, but you would think at some point they would ask someone here, does this sound okay?
Or, well, you know how a lot of times, well, look at us. I'm staring at the Unstock logo. Like, however they say it, we think it's cool. So why would they ask
Well, I
us?
think we did ask, and we did make sure it didn't offend anything.
Well,
or
we did make sure that it didn't offend, but when they make it up, it sounds
They
cool.
did ask us. Remember when we were doing the 73T, and they wanted to call it,
yeah.
was it Restore the Passion?
Yes,
And I googled it right away in the meeting, and it turned out that was
the slogan for
erectile
Viagra.
dysfunction.
Yeah, something like that.
Some kind of medicine. I said that may not look good if people
Revive
Google.
the passion.
I think we ended up with Revive the
Correct.
Passion. That
correct.
was okay.
Yeah, that was okay.
But yeah, they had they had some other stuff that got very political that they didn't realize that would have turned political on them, just because they're
What was that? What was it back in the day? Like the Nova in Spanish was like
doesn't go.
doesn't go.
Yeah. So anyways, the rough roads. As somebody from Porsche said, he goes, if you look at it really fast, it kind of looks like Rothman's.
Well, yeah.
Just look at it that way. And you cannot take the rough roads out if you get the rally package. If you get the rally package, you can change the number. So the number on there right now, 953, is the type number of the 84 4x4 that ran in the Paris Dakar Rally. But you can choose any other number.
What's the cost to do the livery versus like standard paint?
I didn't get the cost down. It's on the configurator. What Michael brought up was, I think it was 32 hours it takes to. So the car comes in white,
Yeah,
and then they send it to Exclusives paint booth.
yeah.
They paint it, I think it's Venetian blue, and then they put the rest of the graphics or decals that they hand put on.
Oh, so the Gentian blue is actual paint, but the other colors are decals.
Is it Gentine or Genetian?
I thought it was Gentian. We'll have
Doesn't
to ask.
sound right.
Do you guys know? Can you let us know? Is it Gentian blue?
All right. It's we got to ask Damon. He would know.
No, you won't.
That's why we missed Damon.
So we had about 250 people that finally got on the booth Friday morning.
295.
295.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's, and that is so. So we go from the press conference on Wednesday. There's actually another media day on Thursday. That's when the other media who weren't invited to the Porsche only media show up.
Oh,
So it becomes a lot more crowded, and the to get to the Porsche media is actually pretty exclusive. So it's pretty cool that PCA let not PCA PCNA let two PCA people come and cover it. Then it becomes and PCNA, they provide their own photographer and videographer. So if you want something videotaped or
you just
pictures
say-
of something, you
they'll
just
give it
pull
to
the
you.
guy over and you say, hey, can you take pictures of this, or can you videotape me in front of here? I want to shoot a segment, and they take care of all that. So that was a neat feature. Of course, Damon came with me, so we had our own setup, but it was good knowing that if something happened, we had a backup of someone else taking photographs.
Oh, and props to you, Damon and Bogdan, because you guys were like working live in the moment and sending Bogdan your photos and your videos, and we got on Instagram. I think it's one of our most popular. It's up there, but the rally cars or the Dakar, I think we're like 60,000 views or something like that. It's insane.
And they told us that they expect to sell 80-20, meaning 80% of the people will choose a rally package.
Really?
If not the Rothmans, there's two other ones per decade, I think, that they're basically hawking back to what.
Would be like a martini livery or something?
Yeah, I think one of them looked like a martini.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it would have been the 78 Safari car.
Yeah.
Now, in the article I'm writing, I'll explain why Porsche didn't use the name Safari. Because we've always called it Safari,
Right.
And everyone knows it as Safari. Around Parade, started getting word that it wouldn't be called Safari, that it would be called Dakar, and or Dakar, depending on I guess how you like to pronounce it. And that is because there's a auto company that already owns the name Safari. Now that car is not in the U.S., but in the rest of the world it's well known. It's an SUV. It's looks like a mid-size, a small SUV. It's owned by Tata Motors.
Ah.
So Porsche could not use that.
So this is like Peugeot all over again.
Kind of. So Porsche said, okay, so, they had to go look for a name. Unfortunately, they had just go walk across the street to the museum.
Right.
And they could come up with another iconic name in their history, which I think actually was probably better than Safari, because they didn't win the East African Safari. It was a little heartbreak near the end there. But the Dakar rally, they did very well in. And so, to me, it's a little bit more cool name. Because everyone's calling their conversions anytime they lift a Porsche
A Safari 911, yeah.
So this is pretty cool that they embraced the car name.
Oh.
That's how I...
Now, was everything open for the media? Because I know they open up the doors and do presentations for...
Yes, for the media, everything's opened up.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, and we got invited to the Thursday night VIP party, which we've always been leaving as they're setting up... for Thursday night, but Philip Monty was nice enough to invite Damon and I. He thought we were given automatic invites, and I said no. I said we're P's, but we're not VIPs. And he laughed and said, "Well, I'll make sure you get on the list." So we got invited to that, and surprisingly, and Damon pointed this out. I didn't realize it right away. They lock all the doors for the VIP party.
Oh, for the Thursday one?
Yeah.
Really?
They lifted the top up on the Turbo S Cabriolet. That was the exclusive model. And I guess they've had incidents in the past where you're mixing alcohol, especially red wine, with food.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
people who maybe drink a little bit too much. And it's kind of hard to get red wine stains out sometimes out of this
Totally understandable.
upholstery. So no one seemed to notice or care that the doors were locked, maybe because they weren't there earlier. But the next day I was just speaking to one of the folks from Porsche, and they said, yeah, they've had some incidents in the past, so now it's commonplace to lock them during that party. But for the Friday morning PCA member preview, which had the 290 people, everything was unlocked again.
Nice.
And the top was down on the turbo, and they were encouraging people to sit down and enjoy the cars, which a lot of people took turns sitting in the GT3 RS. That was without a doubt the star of the show. And Porsche was there. Michael Tam gave great presentations on all the cars that were brand new and answered questions. And I've mentioned this before, if you can get tickets, and they sell out in 24 hours, so as soon as you see them, sign up for it. This gives you awesome access for a couple hours that you just don't get once the show starts.
Yeah, and then you get access to the rest of the show after your visit at the Porsche booth.
Yes, and unfortunately, the rest of the show...
I sense a bit of disappointment in that tone.
It's a little bit sad, but if you follow automotive podcasts, you know that, or you read articles, that the auto shows are probably on their way out. They're dying because manufacturers are choosing other venues to reveal cars. And it's very evident at Monterey, which I think the Quail had like 15 new car reveals. And once again, this year, last year was the coming out of COVID. This year, we thought things would be more normal, much like SEMA. A lot of people said things were back to normal. But the LA Auto Show, still, the only German manufacturers were Volkswagen and Porsche.
Wow.
No BMW, no Mercedes.
Wow. But more importantly, did they have puppies? They had puppies last year.
Subaru, kudos to Subaru. I said, when Porsche had the Dakar and the GT3 RS, when you don't have that to show off, you have to show off in other ways. And they had this display, which, wow, it was impressive. They had actual, like a waterfall coming down. They had a LED floor.
Oh, I want that.
Yes, that was very cool because it looked like the floor was moving. And the first time I walked on it, I didn't realize it. And then the scenery on the floor changed, and I actually almost fell down because I thought the floor was moving underneath of me. So we were all, Melanie, Damon, and I were and Ilka were mesmerized by this floor. And if that didn't make you want to stay in the Subaru area, they had puppies.
Of course.
Yeah.
Everybody loves
Yes,
puppies.
exactly that. So they are smart in that way.
So was the rest of the show primarily EV?
A lot of EV. You know what there was, which you wouldn't have seen 5 years ago, is so much space to drive EVs inside, to the point I told Damon, I'm like, we're this close to having an indoor autocross. They have
They
so
have
much
enough
room.
space to just do
yeah.
like a little course for people to
And
drive?
the one hall where Subaru was, there was a Jeep and there was Ford and there was Chevy, all the trucks, and they had these really large ramps that went up almost 2 stories. And so they were giving rides to people. It looked like the Jeep almost went to the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very very cool to.
But you're right, though. It is kind of sad, though, because I remember growing up, especially around, after Christmas, the Washington, D.C. Auto Show, that's when it took place, or in the Baltimore Auto Show. Like, we would wake up early, make a trek down to D.C., and walk around and get, these bags, and get the pamphlets of sit in all the cars.
Yep, exactly.
And my dad would talk to the product specialists, and it was like an adventure. But now I don't think so much.
Yeah, I looked at the list of, it said, for the media, it said list of press conferences on Thursday, and I pointed at Damon. I started counting, and I think there were 6 new car model reveals, it looked like.
That's
and the
it?
rest were like seminars for social media, seminars for finance, nothing actually new car.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's, I really think we're witnessing a change of, now SEMA, things look back to normal. Somebody was asking me the difference between the two, and I said SEMA was pretty packed. There was a lot more excitement at SEMA than there was at the LA Auto Show.
Yeah, that's a little bit different because that's also primarily business to business interactions.
So
and
it shows me that the auto industry is still nice and healthy. It's just that we're just seeing a little bit of a seismic change as far as how new cars are introduced. I think Porsche will be there to the end because that little area they have, that hall that they called their own, is perfect. And this Southern California is their market.
Right.
That's where most Porsches are sold. So I can't imagine that they'll be leaving anytime soon. But the tickets for the PCA thing was exactly what a ticket to the auto show cost. So you weren't paying any extra. So you got access to all these cars, and they actually gave away. I wish I would have realized this for some reason in my head, because we get so much stuff, and I try not to bring too much stuff back. They had Porsche gift wrap paper.
What?
I know Ilko was walking around with it. I'm like, oh, I said, what did they give away this year? And he said, Porsche gift wrap paper. And I said, let me look at it. It was very high quality. It wasn't the cheap stuff that is like super thin. And of course, they had Porsches all over it. And I was like, oh, my wife's gonna kill me when she knows. I could have brought this home, and it was so thin. It was just in an envelope. Yeah. Bubble wrap envelope. So yeah, members got a pretty good deal, and they showed up at the time we told them, which I think was 7:30, maybe 7 o'clock.
It was earlier.
They were there early,
yeah.
But the weather's decent in L.A. I mean, for them, they said it was a little chilly, but for us in Maryland, that was a nice spring day.
Oh. Well, before we get into Porsche news,
I do have to mention,
what's that?
You always go here. They did have VinFast.
VinFast, for those of you that don't know, that is the Vietnamese automaker, and I always tease my mom there. Let's just say she made me promise that I would always stay with Porsche.
I had to bite my lip because I saw a perfect opportunity. Because Damon was trying out all the cars and sitting in them, and so we went to the VinFast. So Damon was trying to open the rear door in this SUV and couldn't get the door open. And so one of these doors, you hit a button and the handle pops out.
Yeah.
The manufacturer that overcomplicates something that was never broken. And he couldn't get the handle open. And so one of the representatives came right away, because this is during media day. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, and he's like, all you have to do is do this, sir. And Damon's saying, well, I'm doing that, but it's not opening up. And he's like, and he's like pressing, and then 2 more reps come over. And they're like, no, you got to do this. And finally the one guy goes, well, it's supposed to work.
Supposed
like this
to
way.
work.
And I had to bite my lip because I so much wanted to say, it's kind of like communism. It's supposed to work.
It's supposed to work.
But
thank you for
I did not say anything controversial.
Yes,
thank
you. With that, let's remind you to please like, comment, and subscribe. We enjoy definitely reading all of your comments, and we can always count on Ian and Gurney Eagle 500. I'm sure we'll see their comments for this, and always enjoy it, guys. Thank you
Hopefully
very much.
we see him at some event soon.
Yeah, let us know if you're going to be at one of our events. Would love to meet you in
Because
person.
I have to say, I have had a lot of people at the auto show at Unstock come up to us and say they enjoy listening to the podcast. And this is unsolicited. It's not like I was walking around asking people their opinion of the podcast. They just came up, and
yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And we do this because we love it, and it's not too hard for us to do. But if you guys keep listening and find it valuable as a member benefit, we'll do it. But the best way you can let us know that you do enjoy it is, like I said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and when you see us at events, let us know.
Yep. All we ask is that you renew your membership.
Yep.
You're not asking for any money or send in anything to us or to.
Nope.
Nope. It's all free.
All right. So let's see. North American Motorsports Pyramid.
Oh, we're going to the news.
Yeah.
Oh, so let me click onto my little link here.
So this is discovering new talent, right? Because we've known the
but
Motorsports Pyramid for quite some time now.
So at Sports Car Together, we had three guest drivers, which I thought were already junior drivers, and then after I introduced them as junior drivers, they corrected me and they said, "Well, actually, we're not junior drivers. We're not."
So were they like qualifying?
So
or?
you remember? I'm sure you. Once I say the names, as soon as I find it here, Parker.
Yep.
He was from Canada, and Trenton.
Trenton, yeah.
I think they were both there. And then, of course, Patrick Long is the mentor. They've been chosen now as entering this pyramid of drivers that hopefully Porsche is going to basically cultivate and move up the ranks. So it was it's pretty cool to see these drivers when they're in the beginnings. We were just talking about this before the podcast in the bullpen about how like Brendan Hartley.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us remember when he was driving the 919. He was like the youngest, freshest face in there, and then he went to Formula One, and that probably didn't work out as well as he thought. And now he's driving for Toyota. But we said it'd be pretty cool if he were to, like some other drivers who leave and come back to Porsche again and drive at that top tier, because he did great when he ran for Porsche. He won Le Mans several times, and I think that's what got F1 interested in him. But it'd be pretty cool to see these guys. Parker's from Canada, I believe, and Trenton's from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, and seeing them and meeting them in person and seeing sort of their drive, pun intended, to get to this level, they're amazing.
And they're very well spoken. And
yes.
Part of the training isn't just driving; it's also media relations.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're going to be the face of Porsche at many events. And so if you've ever, Patrick Long's a perfect example. I always say if Patrick comes to an event, we just pretty much can hand him the microphone and tell him, can you speak for 20 minutes? And he doesn't need any prompting or moderating. He will, he's just so well-spoken.
And he's a one-take talent, too. When we ran into him at SEMA, and he's like, hey, you want to just do a quick clip? And I literally just hit record on my iPhone, and he just belted out a fun little clip. Nope.
And you can't fake being an enthusiast. And he's a true enthusiast. He is one of the co-founders of Lustig Cult, but he is a true enthusiast. And I can tell you off camera, just having dinner with him, he never tires about talking about Porsches.
Yeah.
I think last December we had dinner with him at a press event, and he all he did was talk about old Porsches. And
it's funny, when we saw him at SEMA, he made fun of you about.
No, you brought it up, and he said it wasn't that bad.
I said, last time you were with Manny, didn't you guys share a flat or something?
He gave me his car, and then I got a flat tire 3 minutes later in his car. Pretty embarrassing. I pointed to the car, and I told him, I think these tires are thick enough where I won't get a flat tire.
Yeah.
They don't have the little sidewalls that the 21 and 22-inch wheels have on them. So anyways, that was pretty cool to see in the news. Obviously, the news has been filled with this 911 Dakar. every news agency is bringing that out, that this was the new car, and it'll probably be in the news for the next couple of weeks, especially as we start to see. I was talking to Rob Sass, our editor, and he said we should start to see in the coming months drives, where hopefully we can get one here, maybe at HQ, hopefully.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And do some videos of how it drives, and hopefully they let you take it off road.
I would think that's the point.
I would hope so. You know what was interesting too was so when they developed Pirelli developed these tires for the car, and they told Pirelli we need a set of winter tires, we need a set of summer tires, and then these off-road tires. The off-road tires performed so well that they're basically telling people you can leave these on year-round.
Really?
Yeah, they did so well at the Nürburgring that they
off-road tires
these off-road knobby tires. Yeah, those tires that Robert has on the screen right now. They did so well. They said you can really, they were supposed to be the off-road only, but they did surprisingly well.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's it sounded like it was much better than expected, which led me to think that this is probably the 992 is going to go for a 0.2 soon, and this is what they usually do. They come out with some special models to say goodbye to the first generation. I would not be surprised if these sell so well that they run a second run of cars
in the dot two.
Yeah, well, no, in the dot one, which they've done they've done quite often. They've had special editions that crossed over to the following year.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Everyone thinks the 997s the last year was in 2011.
Yeah.
But in 2012, when the 991 came out, they had some black edition 997s.
Yeah.
So I think there's nothing they discuss, but I really believe that with the amount of R&D they did on this car, that Pirelli did with these tires, that if they sell as well as I think they're going to sell, don't be surprised if they decided to do another run. They didn't say it's a hard, fast 2,500 and we're done.
Yeah.
They're just saying they're going to make 2,500, but it's not a numbered or edition, 1 out of 2,500. I think the market dictates it. And judging by talking to some dealers who have already taken deposits for these cars, as well as other cars that haven't even been announced, I think Porsche may be surprised. Like you said, they may be sold before you can even really talk to a dealer about them.
Yeah.
So,
next up on the news, you've got something about Daytona.
So we're getting closer and closer to the 24 Hours of Daytona. Actually, PCA has been invited. Rob sending me down to Daytona for this is like a balance of performance practice, if you will. It's going to be where the manufacturers are all running on the track for the top tier, the LMDH class, and they're
This is where they level the field.
Well, this is kind of like where they start seeing what the cars can do. And what I hope to do is interview some of the people from motorsports on their feelings of balance of performance. And for those who don't follow motorsports, balance of performance is a sore subject with Porsche. And it's been a sore subject for a long time because, to put it, I guess, bluntly, and I think one of the heads of motorsports said this one time at a Porsche Platz. He said, basically, we're getting penalized from IMSA for being prepared, for doing our job very well. And he says where other manufacturers aren't prepared, so their cars aren't as fast, so they put penalties on Porsche just so we can even the playing field. And I really think that hurts viewership. I don't think it helps. If Ferrari builds the best car, then kudos to them. They deserve to win. But should Ferrari get penalized because they built the best car? And they're not cheating, they're just building the best car within the rules. So I'm sure balance of performance is going to be a big topic. I heard some moan and groans from Porsche people about the last race of the RSR, that how much balance of performance was hurting Porsche. So I'm sure that's something that's going to come up with this new LMDH car. It's there's 3 key races, you could say, Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans. Le Mans being the big daddy. Everyone wants to do well at Le Mans, so they play a game of sometimes sandbagging it so they get all this balance of performance options so they can go into
they
Le
unleash
Mans
it at Le Mans.
and other. It's happened before, so we'll see.
So are the changes to the cars for balance performance, is that like published? Does it know? Like, does every team know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he had to put in 100 pounds or something like
restrictors.
that. Restrictors.
They put limitations trying to. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the last thing you want. And I've been to the 24 Hours Daytona going since '89, and
you don't want someone dominating.
Yeah, you've seen races where they're almost like an hour ahead.
Yeah,
and short of something catastrophic, they're going to win the race. Obviously, they would. Every sanctioned body would love the race to go to the last turn. But if it's manufactured, I don't know. It's I can't see that it helps viewership. But anyways, we're going down to Daytona, or I'm going down to cover that.
What was that in January?
That is December. That's in
December.
2 weeks.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they have the Roar before the 24.
Oh, that's what I thought.
That's open to the public. That's the week before the 24 Hours of Daytona. So this one is the one where everyone gets to see what everyone else has been doing. And Porsche, to their credit, they've already announced that there won't be any customer teams at Daytona 24 because they just don't have the time or the supply chain to get the cars to the customers. But it sounds like they're going to have customer team cars for the remainder of the year, which I don't believe any other manufacturer has even spoken about having customer team cars. So Porsche is doing pretty well. Thomas Lauterbach, who's the head of Motorsports worldwide, he's very positive on the fact that he'll have at least 4, maybe 8 customer team cars around between WEC and IMSA.
Yeah,
it'll harken back to the 962, 956 days where there were some works cars, but the majority were customer cars.
Oh, to give Porsche fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, in fact, put on the calendar of upcoming events, and I've heard from people that are going for the first time down to the 24 Hours of Daytona. I would definitely recommend this is the year to go in 2023 because Porsche is going for overall win, and there's just something about the atmosphere when Porsche is there for overall win. You can just tell it from the amount of trucks they have there, the amount of personnel. It's and seeing them on the leaderboard. Normally we've always had to cheer for the GT classes, and then there's the prototype classes that it's rare that there's a manufacturer that we really want to cheer for, like a Ferrari or BMW or Mercedes. This time there's going to be, so it's if you're especially East Coast people, Daytona's not a warm place.
It can be.
Well, well, not for very long.
Not for very long, yeah.
Just warm. I know it's Florida, but it's not.
Yeah, it can get chilly or
it's
soggy.
not Miami.
It can get chilly or soggy.
Yes, so it's probably be warmer. It's going to be warmer than it is in New England, but by no means. Well, maybe we'll wear shorts in that cold weather. For me, it's still a winter coat and dress warm. But the sun does come out sometimes, and you can take your jacket off. But it's a 24-hour race, and if you've never been to it, it's very cool to attend.
Absolutely. So since our last podcast, we dropped at least 2 videos, the GT3 versus the GT3 Touring, and the OMR of your 914.
Yeah, so the GT3 versus GT3 Touring, we've gotten very good comments about that. I think people like the fact that we had both cars back-to-back.
And thank you to PCNA for allowing that to happen.
And to Rob Sass for alerting us that this was a possibility. You get to hear different opinions. So I think if I get it right, Damon liked the PDK on the street, but he would want the stick shift on the track. I told him he had it backwards, that you want the stick shift on the street, PDK on the track. So the great thing is you have a choice. You can choose either one when you're buying one. And what I came away is that it really comes down to if you like the wing or you don't like the wing for the street. If you're doing track events, then by all means I would get the wing because I want as much downforce as possible. But for the street, that's really a looks thing. Actually, I surprisingly I picked the Touring, the regular non-wing car. I thought that was pretty.
I'm all about the wing. All about the wing.
Driving it and having that wing in the mirror the whole time got old really quick for me.
Yeah.
But it's a 1% problem.
Yep.
It's a good problem to have your shoes. Yeah, and then Damon did a review on my original 914. I had somebody on the comments say that's not an original rear badge, which I was curious as to why they would say that, since the car is completely original. I've got all the records. It was because it didn't have the 2.0. Which I had to educate them that the first 200 or so that came to the country didn't have a 2.0, because Porsche, as we know, they're not big on labels.
Mm-hmm.
And
back then.
Yes, back then. And the dealers complained because, of course, the American cars had 427, 350, and so on the engine, and this has a mighty 2-liter, so they wanted people to know that. So Porsche ended up sending 2-liter badges for the rest of the production cars, but mine was an early September 72 build, so it doesn't have a 2-liter badge, but it's all original. And Damon,
I think it surprised him how much he enjoyed the car.
Yeah, 914 owners know this, and it's my favorite. I told Damon when he took it out, I said, take good care of it, because this is my favorite car. This is the last one I will have before I die. I said, it's the one I'll never sell. My wife will sell, but not me. It's just a fun car. It's double-digit horsepower, but you can be flat out all the time and have a blast with it.
Next up on Tech Tactics Live, we'll be together when November 30th?
November 30th, and Jim Hemmig, our marketing director.
You've made his day.
Oh, my God. I was thinking of the topics, and I thought, I started looking around the YouTube, and I thought, there isn't much on Porsche bikes. If, someone wants to go out and buy a used one, what's out there, what's the differences, what to expect when you buy one, what should you look for? There really wasn't anything out there. Mm-hmm. So I told Jim, I said, I asked you, I said, what do you think about a definitive guide? And you thought it might be a good idea too. So I let Jim know, and that's all I had to do was text him, hey, are you interested in doing a Tech Tactics Live about bikes? And within like an hour, I had a 2-page outline, and he's lined up bikes already to have in the studio.
We're gonna have the very first model.
Yes, the prototype.
Everything in between, and we will also have the current electric version. So it will be a very comprehensive buyer's guide.
The different sizes, because there's small, medium, and large.
Things to look out for when you're buying one, especially a used one.
And because, like I told him, I said, honestly, when I was looking at these used bikes, I thought it'd be a pretty cool pit bike to have. I figured I'd just buy one and start riding it. He pointed out that if they have shocks, you may have to rebuild the shocks and the brakes, and but how that isn't really a hard thing to do. And I think even if you casually have been interested in Porsche bikes or want to know more about them, this is the show to watch, and it'll definitely be a great evergreen episode.
Upcoming events. I can't believe the Zone Fest cruise is coming up in 2 weeks. For those of you that have already signed up, I look forward to seeing you aboard. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've shared with you all the different things that will be happening on board that's PCA or Porsche related. But I wasn't so sure. Did I tell you that I encouraged them for one of the fun nights to hire a professional comedian?
No.
Did I tell you about that?
No.
So for those of you that are listening, I won't tell the people that are coming on the cruise, but we hired a professional comedian, and I'm actually going to download with them sort of Porsche-isms and PCA-isms, all the crazy stuff. Because the people at Princess, right, they've really been together with us for about a year. But even though they've been around us, like when I tell them about how like we're doing the Concours at Sea, basically bringing 1/18 scale cars, they're like, so does every PCA member have a 1/18 scale car? Like it was so like far fetched for them. I'm like, yeah, pretty much every PCA member has at least one 1/18 scale model. And then like there's other things that we do. They're like, when they saw the first Concours at Parade, and like, are they really like cleaning the inside of their tailpipes? I'm like, yep, they are. So all those little isms, I'm going to download it to the comedian and see how he or she uses it.
One of my favorite movies is Jerry Seinfeld's Comedian, where he basically goes through the process of how he, I guess for lack of a better term, makes comedy.
Right.
And it's very involved. It's not something that happens off the cuff. So they have 2 weeks to do some bits.
Yes.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. And so hopefully we'll get a copy of it, because the ship has full production capabilities. The other thing that we found out is, how like when you go to a hotel and you turn on your TV, there's like regular channels, but then there's like the in-house TV. So they're gonna dedicate one of the channels for all PCA content. So we'll have like our favorite YouTube channels. We'll have how to join. So yes, we have about 600, 700 PCA members on board, but the ship is literally thousands of people that are on board. So everyone that's on the ship is really going to get a little bit of PCA education.
So all I could think of was Scott's Maria, who said that the sound of our voices puts her to sleep. This could be a great sleep aid. Listen to the podcast.
We could lull them to
yes.
sleep. We will definitely have one podcast episode on the channel for people to listen to. Registration for Spring Treffin Georgia Mountains opens January 4th. The event is April 19th through 23, and I saw that they were on a conference call this morning talking about all the different things that you'll be doing in and around Georgia, which includes visiting the PEC, I believe, and the roads down there are fantastic, and the local region's going to definitely set up a Treffin that will be, an amazing event. And
that's more of a higher class event than parade, in the sense that it's nicer hotels. It's a couples type of.
It's like a
event.
4 or 5 star event, more couples, like zero competition. It's all touring. It's, if you're a foodie, Treffin is definitely where you want to be. It's fine dining, unique experiences, visiting beautiful homes, establishments, or something like that, museums. So it's a very, very unique experience, and sells out within. We've had Treffin sell out within 8 minutes
I was
before.
going to say Peach State region, which is Atlanta, is a big region and a very active region. So if you're interested in doing a Treffin, be online the minute this opens up.
Yeah, and I would say is we have information on PCA.org now, where you can find out everything that's involved. I encourage you, if you're planning to go, know all of your selections and know what you want to do before the day of registration, so that way when the clock strikes whatever time it opens, you're on there right. Make your selections quick, and then complete your transaction, so that you secure your spot at Treffin, because it will sell out. And I know people complain like, wow, why can't you make it more of a lottery or something like that? We've tried that before with other events, and then all of a sudden you just have some people that are like, so let's say you have friends that are going too, and like some of your friends make it, some of you don't. There really isn't a winning way to do that other than just first come, first serve. So that's what it shall be. The PCA Corral and Hospitality Tent at the 24 Hours of Daytona, as Manny mentioned earlier, the place to be in January. That's January 28th through the 29th.
Do you know if they're planning anything special for that? Because being the return of Porsche to overall racing, 75 years of Porsche.
We haven't heard anything officially, but as you said earlier, you should just plan to go.
I will say that don't try to. The tickets to bring your car into the corral sold out back in the summertime.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I guess fortunately for the people who buy the tickets, but unfortunately for those who want to get tickets, they only sell it to people. They sell them first to people who bought them in the past.
It's like football seat tickets that like it's passed down to families.
Yeah, it's like Packer tickets. You only can, if someone dies, you can get.
You like how I use a sports reference? I don't use sports reference very often.
How the Ravens do this weekend?
I believe they barely won.
Yeah, very good. Yes, they won though.
The only reason
there's no barely won column. They won.
That's the only reason is because I was with my family and they had it on. I had to watch it.
Yes. Anyways, but even if you don't have your Porsche, every PCA member, Porsche owners, welcome into the Porsche PCA hospitality tent, and they have closed circuit TV. They always have snacks, drinks. places to sit down and hang out with other PCA members. I haven't been in a couple of years, but I'm sure they still bring the teams in.
Mm-hmm.
And being this time, once again, Porsche going for overall, they'll have the hierarchy from Germany, the motorsports department coming, and they come during the race with updates of how the team's doing, and they bring the drivers in. So anyways, it's a great experience. It adds to the whole Daytona experience when you come down to come hang out at the PCA tent. Plus, they have their own, I like to think of it as our own grandstands, even though it's technically not really ours, but it's in our parking area.
Yep.
And that's right along the I forgot what it's called, the bend on the back, on the inside straight, the little kink. That's where
I just noticed the infield.
Yeah, but it's right. It's a perfect spot to watch a race. So if you've been thinking about going to a 24-hour race, this is the race to go to.
Yeah, and if you're flying out of BWI, I think like Southwest flights are on sale right now, so good luck with that.
You basically, you fly to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cheapest way, probably. Rent a car. It's about an hour drive, maybe from the airport to
Mm-hmm.
Daytona. Daytona does have an airport, depending where you're coming from. Will determine how many stops you have to make. We always would fly down to Orlando direct, and because Orlando is a huge airport, rent a car and drive up.
Finally, registration opens for Works Reunion Amelia Island on December 14th. The event itself will be March 3rd, so mark your calendars for that. And we are over about 10 minutes. I didn't realize, just the two of us, and we're still over. Anything else before we sign off, Manny?
I think next week, maybe, will we have Rob in the office? He said he was coming in after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Maybe back to normal.
Yep. And maybe next week you'll meet Bogdan. Will Bogdan be in next week? I know he's...
You're the boss. I think you should.
No, I don't memorize everyone's travel schedule. I mean, the reason why it's just you and I here because I think most of them have been
Damon's on vacation.
And they're catching up on the unused comp hours and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, grab that VIN and head over to PCA.org. We'd love for you to join us in all the fun. If you're like Ian and you're looking for your Porsche and you don't have one just yet, try out our test drive program. We'll steer you in the right direction to make sure you land the right Porsche for you. And remember to follow us on the podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can message or email us if you have any thoughts, suggestions, compliments. Throw Manny a compliment. That'd be nice. podcast@pca.org, or simply comment on our YouTube podcast video. Until next time, stay safe. Happy holidays, everyone, and we'll catch you down the road.